Welcome to Valhalla Streaming. Today I have a very special guest. Mommasaurus Rex has joined us today to finalize our three-parter of a series. Um, first, first of all, welcome, Mama. How are you today?
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. I am not bad. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm still dragging around in the morning part of my day, so we'll see where the day takes me. How about you?
Indeed, for me it's the opposite, and it is 2 o'clock Sunday morning almost for me. So a late one, but able to function at this time thanks to the lovely Coke that I've been drowning myself in for the last hour and a half. Um, so today, it's been the anniversary theme that's going on in Eve, and it's a bit of a reflection. Do you want us to give us a bit of a heads up on where did your journey in Eve start?
Well, I'd say a couple different places. So, of course, I played a little bit of the game itself, like EVE Online, the computer version of the game, and I was never did anything major with it. Probably a few months here and there, just kind of dabble around in it. I know enough to know what mining drones are. Like that's about it. um, and then I stopped playing games at all for quite some time, and then my first sort of dabble in mobile games of this kind of size was Second Galaxy, which is an Eve clone for the mobile.
Yep.
It's a poor Eve clone that charges a lot of money. But it was fun. It was space games. Got to do lots of things. Ended up accidentally leading an alliance there, and it was named Genesis. So here we are. I started this particular version of Eve in the first beta. I heard that it was coming out, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is such a great, just a great concept, and this could really change mobile gaming in many ways." And that got me really excited, just that possibility. So even though we were playing SG at the time, I also played the beta for this, and all the way through for the beta. So we settled actually out in Omist, myself and a handful of pilots, and we got Vexers and Worms like everybody else because they were way OP in that iteration, and went out and had fun and blew lots of things up and just had a good time. I just fell in love with it then. And then then there was that long pause, the long terrible pause between the first beta and the second one, and I went back to really focusing on SG and had a bunch of accomplishments there. But I knew at that point that I wanted to bring what we had built in SG to EE. So, we all waited around like everybody else, I'm sure. And then the second beta came out, and most of us got in on the second beta, including myself. And it was a different Genesis server at that time, and we carved out this whole like section of the server, and everyone was piled in it like 24/7 during the couple weeks of that beta, just testing all the things and breaking all the stuff. And it was super exciting, and what we saw was super exciting. So we knew by the end of that beta for sure we were going to be shutting things down over in SG and moving over here. So we burned all of our capital ships in a blaze of glory in SG, and then everybody bodily moved over here. And that was probably the best thing we could have done. But yeah, we started on day one. We knew where we were going to be. We had planned all of that out. We selected Esoteria. We moved to BZ on the first day in Condor Interceptors. Or not Interceptors, sorry, Seeded Condors, the first ones. So I have Interceptors on the brain because I've been playing the the faction warfare.
It was a miracle when we first got them, because then you could bypass gate camps. But yes, back to the seeded condors.
Yes, seeded condors. So we came out here in the seeded frigates actually, and did the smallest ANOMs in large little groups, and got into Decius as quick as we could. And I think I have 752 Thrasher 2s. Like we we really had geared up a lot at the beginning for early warfare, which was good because we ended up in early warfare on, I think, on day 3.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's how I got started. That's what brought me here.
Fantastic. And it's awesome when we talk about what we were flying back in those days. It's like how did we live with that? You know, thinking of what we've got access to today with the new content and everything. So I guess in fast forwarding to here, and I guess looking back over that time, what would say be your highlight in your journey to date for yourself as a player of Eve?
Well, for Eve Echoes, a particular highlight.
Was the
Oh
hat?
God.
Was what
Oh
stands
God.
out?
Everything. I don't even know how to answer this question. Uh, God, there are so many moments. You know what though? If I had to pick, God, there are so many actually. I don't know. I can't really pick. But if there's one moment in the game that I was like, it just blew me away. Right? Was it was the destruction of the ZID Citadel. So or not ZID, the WX Citadel, the Aurora Station.
Yep.
So the Aurora Station was destroyed, and we knew that was going to happen. I mean, the way the mechanics were working at that time, it was like, oh shit! Like if you get enough people, I'm sorry for cussing, if you get enough people on grid, like you're gonna take it out. So there's just you apply damage for long enough, and there's nothing you can do, and we knew that. And so, to me, that fight was so representative of what Jen is that it was just it was pretty amazing. It's probably my favorite war battle of the game, even though we lost the Citadel. Um, we had a capped system, so it was completely capped with reds. Actually, not completely. We had about 100 and I think we had 138 guys in the system. Because we knew they were going to cap it. That's what they had been doing. And capping was, over 1,400 players, right?
Yeah.
People talk about sort of this blue donut nonsense right now, and I'm like, okay, if it's a blue donut and you've got 300 players in system, you clearly don't understand what what a blue donut looks like.
Yeah.
Try 1,400. Try 1,400 hostiles in your system that you can't get into it.
Yes.
So it's funny. I look back at the ticket from that day, and I was like, please raise the system cap so we can get in and fight for our Citadel.
Yeah.
So anyway, we couldn't get in, and it was kind of a tough moment for us on many levels. We had our allies were on the other side of WX, and we were in BZ, and so we all piled up on the gate. This is the first time I ever flew my Nightmare, and there was no insurance. So we're all piled up in BZ, and on the gate at WX, there's like 300 or 400. I think there's about 400 on the gate. The timer went live for the Citadel, and the guys on the gate were so excited to get in on the kill mail, I think, for the Citadel, that they left the gate.
Yes.
They left it down to like 150, 200 guys.
Yes. Yeah.
So we had everybody coordinating, all these coordinated groups. We had the group that was still like the 138 guys pre-scanning sitting in that system, and they all either logged or jumped to the system on the other side, not BZ, but the other side, to join our allies. And as soon as they jumped, like we coordinated it all in comms, they jumped out and we jumped in. And we picked our first few fleets, including myself, all heavies, the heaviest ships we could put together at that point.
Yeah.
So we jumped through, we fought on the gate, we killed over 100 of them, 150 or so. And our most like critical thing, and we're calling out on comms. We're like, kill the pods, because then every time we killed a pod, it freed up the space for another pilot to come in, and everyone else was crashing the gate, right? So suddenly our 140 or whatever that had made it in became 300, right? And then someone else found a group of like 52 pilots on another planet that were just, we don't even know what they were doing there, just some fleet. So we jumped onto that, and we locked down a whole bunch of them, killed a whole bunch more, right? Then we got another 50 in, and we went in and moved to the Citadel, and we were grossly outnumbered on the Citadel. But we fought that fight, and that fight to me, like right then and there, not only the ingenuity that it took to get there, but just the determination to take that fight anyway with the ships that we had was pretty amazing to me. And the fight itself was just glorious. Like, we knew we were going to lose the Citadel, but we killed 800 ships in that fight. We killed 800 ships, and we won the field, and we wrecked the nightmare, the wall of nightmares that they had. We held them all down and killed them, which was the first time anyone had done that.
Yes.
But it was that, to me, if you ask me about like my favorite moment in the game, was I had my nightmare bubble up, and it was, just charging our fleet into the enemy and what was left of them, to try and break them. And we did break them, but it was just like, that moment was so exciting. Like, my adrenaline was up. This thing had been going on for hours, but we were determined to do it, and we were determined that we knew we were going to lose a Citadel, but not one person was going to leave our space with their ship intact. And then our guys, again, in a very gen-fed manner, camped that whole pipe for 5 days straight, 5 days, including when the server went down. Like, they sat there until the server went down and then logged back in when it came back up.
Yep.
So all those people who had set bases and stuff in BZ and thought they were being clever doing that spent a whole lot of time with us that they didn't want to spend. And it's just that level of determination. But that fight, to me, like, sorry, it's long-winded, but if that fight to me was just one of the most exciting moments in the game for me. Even though we lost the overall objective, the fight itself was amazing, and I think it was a high point for our alliance.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. As one of the major reasons to play this game is not necessarily to achieve or lose the objective, I guess in that case, but it's actually to spend time with the people and actually go on that journey. In this case, I was on the opposite end to you at this stage, I believe. I was in the ball of red mass that you charged into, but I was a lowly officer at the time in another world. But yeah, and it's one of those, I guess, to see yourself not just in the game, but leading everyone and participating as part of that community was a big draw when our world essentially fell apart and we needed somewhere to go. Which we've had a chat about on the offline a couple of times. So I'm guessing that's that leads into, I guess, the next question I had for you. Even though put that aside, going into a nice fight with everyone by your side. What is your favorite thing to do, or what do you like doing in Eve just to kill time? So we're not talking about the glorious fights that we now have as GenFed, but what can you burn time on when you're playing the game?
I do a little bit of everything, and I do that intentionally because I want to understand how things work. So when someone who predominantly, like, their thing in the game is to mine, right? They don't want to get engaged in PvP or whatever. They want to mine, and I need to understand the issues of, like, reprocessing or logistics of moving ore, or just what mining defense looks like, or things like that. Then I want to be able to understand it myself. So also, I have the benefit of having, I have so many executor alts because by the time that they shrunk things back down so that we could put 30 corporations in an alliance, I had 18 alliances, and so I had 18 executor alts.
Yep.
So I still have those alts, and so I try to utilize some of them because they were created early on with our earlier alliances. And they're reasonably, many of them are getting into tier 10 now. So I try to like diversify, I guess, what I'm doing. So I like to mine when I'm just kind of sitting idle, and I can help build resources for my corporation or any other projects or anyone who needs it. Um, I uh, I do a lot of ratting with my nightmare too. So people, and I don't really do it for myself. A lot of times I don't even take splits and stuff of any kind of anoms. I just fly the nightmare around, and a big part of that is the nightmare was given to me by the alliance. Well, it's about 20 different entities within the alliance on our actually it was when the Aurora Citadel went up. It was like our first Citadel, and they put together a nightmare for me and gifted it to me at like an opening ceremony for the Citadel, which was one of the kindest things I've ever seen a group of people do, and especially given the value at that time, and it was just so tremendous. So I feel obligated with that in many ways to make sure that I'm always giving back. So you'll see me like spam my fleets, the ratting fleets and stuff over Alliance chat or local or wherever I am, and everybody's welcome to join because I feel like it uses that ship to sort of give back to everybody. We often joke that it's also a training session for our lodges because I get into diplomacy and then I I forget to put up the bubble. so so it's always mama bubble. um, so so I guess I do PVE poorly, but generally most people survive, which is good. And we also have, the best logi in the game in Gen Fed. That's probably part of the reason why.
Extra training.
It's draining. So yeah, so I do ratting. Plus, my corporation has a lot of ratters in it. It just does. I don't know how that happened. It just did. And so I get a chance to experience that pretty well. I finally ran some of these rare sites, the new sites with the coins and stuff in them. The last couple days, that's been interesting.
Yep.
But at least I can answer questions or, make informed decisions again about ratting and things like that. If someone comes to me with, a ratting problem, then if, it's something I can at least understand, which I think again is super important. And then, but my heart is PvP. So I love the PvP. Like these other things I do when I'm idle, for the most part, or working on Diplo or something. But PvP is where my heart is. So I live in the game for big warfare combat. So that's why it's probably my favorite moment, right? Is because that sort of that large warfare strategy and just excitement to me, like that can't be beat. But I also like small scale combat. So you'll see me a lot of times on our Discord, just chilling with one of the groups, and we're probably doing PvP.
Yeah.
I like to join Weird Bob's fleets. He's got some really great. He's very good, very methodical and strategic about where he goes to places, and it's a nice, fast-paced fleet. A lot of the JFCs will put together, either roams or put together, assaults on our red neighbors. And I'll join up with those as often as I can. I like big ships. I like heavy ships. I'm super excited for capitals. I want like one of everything because it's just
Yep.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. But
There's many of you out there that are waiting for the carriers and capitals. You know, a lot of the miners are finally going, "Yay, our ore's going to be used."
yes, yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, several of my, especially with this new update where you get all the bonus skill points and stuff. I've reskilled, well, not reskilled, but added to a couple of my tier 10 like battleship pilots. I've added like 4 mining, right? And
Yeah.
I'll throw a covet or two on that pilot just so I can put it out there and start picking up ore for, when the day comes. And I'm very, very excited. I really want to try a carrier. That appeals to my heart. But yeah, I'm really excited. But yeah, PvP is where my heart is. Like if there was something that if I had to pick one thing to only do in the game, it would be PvP. But I love this game, and we came here from the other game because of all of the things, right? You
Yeah.
you have an actual player controlled economy. Like that is unheard of. And you have a actual like supply, demand, and all the construction of ships. I know insurance tweaked that quite a bit, but still, you have all these different things that you can do. You can play this game and never leave Jita, if that's what you wanted to do, right?
Yep.
Or you can be like me and do a little bit of everything because that's what you like to do. And so I'm I don't know. I think that's the beauty and the draw of this game to begin with.
Absolutely. And not only that, this game has a lot of lessons that can be used in real life. Like for me, I've learned how to use Google Docs, YouTube, and when what happened to Valhalla in January, and we had that huge theft. We some people that were involved in the investigation of that actually learned some how to track uh, login details and whatnot through Facebook, and they were able to apply that in real life. Has there been any, I guess, something that's happened in the game where you've been actually able to apply that in real life?
Well, applied in real life. Yes and no. So in terms of spreadsheeting and stuff, not really. I'm a lawyer by trade, and so my kind of what I do is similar in some ways in terms of either negotiation or um, you know uh, uh, just kind of some people management skills and things like that. Um, but I think the thing that has maybe affected me in real life, other than the fact that I don't sleep most of the time,
Yep.
between the two jobs, and they are both jobs, um, is the uh, all the people for me. Like I am so fascinated by all the people. Like I spent this morning speaking to a different alliance leader who's Russian, and I used a translator to talk back and forth with them, and like just making that connection with another human being that I probably would never have met. I mean, even yourself, right? We probably never would have met.
Exactly.
Um, and there's so many people from all over the world. Like that is the most interesting and fascinating and delightful thing to me about this game and about GenFed in particular. Like we have so much diversity, even within our own alliance, and people who have so many cool ideas and cool life experiences and just all this stuff that we get to interact with that we never would have interacted with before. Um, and so like I'm just starting to learn Russian actually because I speak to so many people who have that as their primary language that I'm fascinated by it, right? And I'm kind of learning new things in my own life that I would not have otherwise taken the time to do or had the interest to do, and now I do, and it's because of this game. It's crazy to me, and I think I've made friendships in this game that will persist beyond the course of the game, and that's when you're talking about that on a global scale, that's pretty amazing to me.
It is, and in smaller nature in Valhalla, we've got a person on every continent. We were talking about that the other day, and the different accents that come through. While we're fortunate enough to have everyone speaking English, there's some very thick accents that come through, which are like, "What did you just say?" And they all love how I swear a lot in the Aussie language, the Aussie tang. But uh, in terms of we've come a long way, and then all of a sudden there's this the last 3 days it's almost turned it into a new game. What's your take on the last 3 days and what's been happening?
Well, I have long since said that the tournaments are likely to kill PvP in this game, and I'm still not dissuaded from that viewpoint.
Yep.
I for the first time, because I was so busy this week with work, it was really tough for me to get in to see the early changes. But yesterday I got my normal PvP guys were like, "Mama, come on, it's faction warfare, let's do it." And I was like, all right, I'm in. So I did the faction warfare the last 2 rounds, and it was great. It was lots of fun. It's very high intensity, very fast paced. You either get a team that totally loses, or you get a team that works together and does a good job. And just in those two 2-hour sessions, I have a lot better idea of what kind of pilots to bring and what to do and all that stuff. But what I notice is we don't have much in the way of reds in our space during this time, and I'm not sure that will get better. My concern when I first heard about this was that we would have a dramatic loss in sort of roams and the things that go between spaces in null that give it that vibrancy of, and the danger, right, of you could get popped at any time, and that obviously has dramatically reduced with this event, and I don't know if that's going to get better or it's going to get worse. I just don't know. So to me, that's still my concern. It has not been abated. I had fun. I think it's fun, but I have concerns. And so I like that they have kind of a fun, instanced, King of the Hill and all that, and capture the flag type games, but I have concerns. I really hope that they are looking at this to some level of balance. And I don't know how they do that, but I'm seeing people schedule their time to come play on PvP around these things and not around, defenses and other stuff like that. And I want to just encourage people to keep in mind that, if our Reds get their stuff together long enough to come put pressure on us, it could be quite dangerous. So I hope people sort of get it a little bit out of their system and get the items that they want to get, and then get back to also keeping pressure where pressure needs to be and doing all the things that we need to do to get stronger and stay strong as an alliance.
I reckon it'll take a couple of months to sort that one out. Personally, because of the grind that they've put in front of achieving the top level. I don't know if you've had a look at that and what's kind of required to get to level 5, like the admiral level, which allows you to get the debris.
I have. I just got into my second level last night, and I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna take a little bit.
Yeah, so it's like triple. Yeah, it was 500 points for the first level, and it's 1,500 for the next. So I'm thinking, well, then it must be times 3 again, and times 3 again. So by the time you get to level 5, you're well and truly over it. And the prices of those debris are going to be ridiculously high. So, but yeah, like you said, there is that risk. But I've also, it's been interesting. I've had a couple of industry people who are giving it a crack and going, I didn't know you could align and fire at the same time and do this, because I'm trying to coach them into it. It can be used as a coaching mechanism to potentially get those that aren't interested in PvP at all, is to say, hey, go have a play with this, use this advice and see what you do. It's like completely risk free, and you get some bonuses for it. So that I've had a couple of players that I've been talking about that, and that's been an interesting outcome. So, like if there's a balance between what you're saying and that, I think there might be a positive outcome out of that. But intent, the SOV has had a massive change. Your corp citadels are going to be permanent soon. Have you looked into that?
Yeah, and I'm not. Yeah, our first one I think is going live right now. Our first permanent. But I don't know how I feel about that either. I don't think I like that very much at all. And I'll tell you the first thing I don't like about it, and it may be the most girly thing ever. I just don't know. But what if I don't want my citadel where they put it? You
Sure.
know, like I like for ZID, I put that thing right on the blazing top of the sun, right? And that was a gesture of defiance, right?
It's great. I love
And
looking at it every time I do it.
yeah, and so if I take over a system, like I kind of want to decide where to put my stuff, especially if it's like something that might be permanent, like I would live there.
Yeah.
I would want
Okay.
to. I don't want to have some drab spot in the middle of nowhere, because back in the day, drab spots in the middle of nowhere were the way that you did it, right? Now it
Yep.
doesn't matter because they're scanning, but when they first came out, it mattered. So for me, like, I don't know. I think that's kind of. I know it's the most superficial reason, I swear, but I want to be able to blow it up and place my own. Plus, I don't know how the naming works. Like, if I use an Entosis link and the name of the citadel is, FU Genesis, do I have to take that one over and keep that name?
Mm.
I don't know. So for me, like there's so many questions still that I have, but I'm not crazy about the permanent structure thing. Like, I think they could have done it in a way that made it maybe harder to blow up a structure, so you're not losing 12 in 2 weeks, or all the terrible things that happened over in the Vale. Um but permanent, I feel weird about permanent.
Yeah. I, I'm kind of in agreement there. The only thing that I do like is that when you put so much an investment in. So when you look at the top level Corp Citadel, I think it's like 80 to 90 billion by the time you get there
Hmm.
in investment. Once you've maxed it all out. So if you're putting that much in, you'd be wanting to make sure you're getting something out. But that's part of the game as well. So like you said, it'll be interesting. And it's all coming at the same time as carries and titans, or not titans, dreadnoughts and whatnot. So yeah, miners, get out mining. There's going to be no ore left in the universe by the time that these things come out, and the amount of ore.
And pie, get your pie going, people.
Yeah, come on. I think we're all talking to all of our members at the moment, going, "Oh shit, we just emptied out our reserves, and that was just on
Uh-huh.
day two."
Yep. Yeah. It's a big deal. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work out. I have mixed feelings. I'm glad that they put up these additional things to give you bonuses. I hear there's mining bonuses coming up soon as well for structures, which I think is going to be also fantastic, especially for corporations that are predominantly industry and have big multi-box mining fleets out there doing stuff. Like, those guys are really going to benefit from that, which is great. I'm nervous on overall, like, long-term effect and implementation. But I think the best description I've heard of it so far, which is the bonus to this, is that you have to live there, right? If you're going to take someone's space from them, you can't just take it and then go away because the structures stay. So
Yeah.
you have to take it and live there. And I, as the first alliance who had someone drop a hostile structure in their space and know what that sort of feels like and know that you can't really do much about that, that I like the fact. I mean, like when GHA dropped the structure in our space, no one lived in it. Like no Reds lived in that structure because they couldn't.
Yeah.
And so we got all the grief about that, you know, not being our space and their space and all this stuff, but no one lived there because they just couldn't. And the question was, you know, we couldn't muster 1,400 players in Chinese primetime. We just couldn't. So that made it a challenge. But I think I like the idea that you can't sort of hostile drop in places and not just lose your structure to an atosis link over time. Like I don't know. I like the fact that it forces people to occupy space rather than just take it for taking its sake.
Indeed. And you got to remember, level ones can still be blown up. So.
Oh yeah.
There's going to be plenty of them around. So the
Yeah.
explosion animation is not gone for good.
Well, and I had to laugh when this conversation came up because I started laughing when they brought up the WX, the No Place Like Home, and I said, well, I guess that makes Gen Fed the original Entosis link.
True that, true. Yeah.
You put a structure near us long enough, and eventually it becomes ours.
Indeed, I was yeah, that was a funny situation in the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so speaking going forward, what do you see as some of the challenges that we as you know, as a Genesis family have to take on in the coming months?
Well, I don't know, and I do and I don't. Right? I think some of the same is still there. Um, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the north right now. You, I'm sure you can see the map where, you know, Jen has 5 regions. Don't get attached to the 5th region, right? We're blowing those citadels up ourselves or allowing others to do it so we can get everyone out of the Vale right now. Um, we actually don't want to live in the north. It's way too cold up there.
Yep.
um, uh, but you know, we're bringing in a lot of new people. I think we have 23, 24 corporations coming out of the Vale. A lot of people who have dealt with, you know, a lot of war over the last little bit and a lot of losses, and so we're trying to get them in and settled. My hope is that everybody works together to help, you know, get them settled down here. We have got spaces and citadels for them to drop and all that stuff so they can get comfy. Um, and settle back into a more peaceful environment, which is really weird to say that about Gen Fed, by the way. Um, uh, but yeah, so
You're absolutely right.
yeah, it's so that's kind of step one, right? We're trying to get people settled in a little bit, and we're still yeah, so the Southern Coalition became, which didn't live in the South, by the way. Southern Coalition doesn't live in the South, became the Content Coalition, uh, and then became this Confederation of the East, which I was pretty proud of that name because they actually do live in the East, which made a lot more sense. And then they disbanded that, and now they're the Southern Collaboration G. Don't know what the G stands for. I have no idea. I didn't ask, and nor will I.
Sounds like a Stargate fan. SCG.
Yeah, right. And so uh, so now, and I think they just broke up again. So SCG declared war on us about 5 days ago, and that doesn't seem to be going well for them. I'm not sure anyone actually noticed that they declared war on us, other than, you know, we saw it on their Reddit on their Reddits and stuff. And then now they're disbanding again, or pieces of them are breaking off again and become. So there's still stuff going on with the East, and we're just kind of watching it and shooting at all the red things. Like that's pretty much what we're up to on that side. I would like to see us completely clear our space. I know there are some sections of Fae where there are still red outposts, and those
Yep.
need to go. When people come to me and say, "Well, we don't want to have a blue donut," I try to point in the direction of Fae and say, "Look, this is our space, and there are still red structures in it."
Mhm.
So as soon as there's not red structures inside of our own space, then I will listen to you very intently about your complaints about a blue donut.
Yeah.
you know, uh, like clear our space first, and then
Yeah.
let's talk. So we have uh, corporations from other alliances moving into our space just for PvP because we have such quite a bit of it in our, especially on the Fae side of things. So I try to help people not get too absorbed into Reddit trolling or whatever, and understand that we still have a job to do. We still have our space to secure. And then once that's done, we have to be ready for the next phase of the game, which we have several different facilities building capital ships and gearing up to build capital ships. And they've been stockpiling from, 3 or 4 months ago to start doing this. And so those groups and you guys in particular are living in one of those areas like that is what I need people doing, is to not only make sure that we are secure within our own space, especially given permanent structures now, but we're getting ready for the next phase, because the alliances that are fleeting the largest capital fleets and the most not just largest but most effective in terms of skilled pilots are going to be at the head of the curve.
Yeah.
And there's no reason except our own laziness that GenFed should not be the front runner in that. I mean, we are set up in such a unique way that I don't think any other alliance or coalition is set up to do. So
Absolutely.
I want to see everybody doing that. So get your buildings secure, get your citadels secure, build all the little cool things, but keep in mind that we've got, a month and a half or so, maybe a little more, until we need to start building a lot of really big ships.
Yes.
And I, for one, am not going to be afraid to put those things on field. So make sure you got the big boy pants on, because we're going to put those things on field if we need to.
And just for context, when we say big, it's the freighter. It took it takes 20 days to make a freighter. We're expecting these things to take more than that, and the oil required to do that. So per unit, these things are not going to be small. When people are scared to fly their freighters around, it's kind of funny when you hear that. Well, what do you use your freighter for? High sec running. I'm like, okay, so what are you going to do with Titan when it comes out, or a Dreadnought? What are you going to do with that?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it brings us to an end, and I'd like to thank you, for your time. Is there any shout outs that you want to make to people that are in the last couple of weeks that have you want to recognise some something that stood out to you?
For me, it's always a collective. So it's very rarely a single person. In terms of single person, I guess would maybe be Saipak, actually, who he's so behind the scenes. Max is too. These guys, these two guys are very behind the scenes in many ways, but they do so much to keep us together. Like I don't know what I would do without them. And um, and they just, from the day that they got the positions that they're in, they have done nothing but work, and they've asked for nothing in return. And for me, that's pretty amazing. Just amazing people. And they just do it so the group is better. That's it. Um, And so a huge thank you to them for everything that they do. But generally speaking, I I am just so grateful for the pilots that we have and just all the groups that we have. This group is one of them. I know, I've said it from the beginning. I've said it before we even stepped foot in this game. No alliance is greater than its pilots. Period. And when we lose sight of that is when we fail as an alliance. And so we have, and I spend, every day, every single day, I'm in on the Discord, I'm in on comms, I'm in the game, and it's that has been a tremendous and wonderful experience for me. The new corporations coming in, so many of them. I don't know if you read this on the general chatter and stuff, but so many of them are like, "Oh my God, this! I had fun for the first time in this game in months last night when I came and hung out with everybody." Um, so like that is such a high compliment about our group and who we are. And I keep saying it until I'm blue in the face on social media and everything else is like, it's the only reason I do all this stuff is because this cool group that we've put together. Um, and people think it's propaganda, but then they come over and experience it and they're like, okay, this is a cool group. So, uh, you know, my shout out is to everybody for that. Like every time a pilot participates or jumps into a home defense or just goes and plays on rats and invites their neighbor or supports their neighbor when they need something, that is what makes the game good for so many people. That's what makes the game fun, and that's what makes it feel like a community. So for everyone who's doing that, thank you.
Absolutely, and you've hit the nail on the head. And we are Valhalla is a corp that has come into Janus, has been against Janus, has come into it, and has experienced what happened within the community that's here, and it's fantastic. There's been help. There's been people to share experiences. Our neighbour Orc through Ozia has been, a great help in re-establishing us as a corporation that's being able to grow again. We've been 3 months here working with and having a bit of fun for a while. Our Vikings, our Space Vikings is what we call them, are all saying that they're enjoying the space and having a good time. So, like you said, it is a pilot-based game, and without the pilots, there is nothing. So, big thank you to everyone that's behind the scenes. So to point out, we are at a year, and the whole point of this conversation is to identify what we're about to celebrate over in the coming weeks. On the 13th is a year from day one. It's gone really quickly. A lot's happened, but up until that day, we are having Valhalla is having a 1 year anniversary raffle. It's just come up on the screen now. So if you feel like getting involved, you're welcome to participate. Anyone inside Janus Federation is allowed to participate. Follow the details on the screen. If not, hit Cardinal up in the Discord. You can definitely point you in the right direction. And I would like to sign off in saying thank you, Mama, for coming along for this wonderful chat. It was great to learn a bit about yourself and a bit more about the history and how it's all come together. So thank you, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you guys for sticking with us and adding to this wonderful project and group. I'm so grateful for that and for everybody who just contributes to that. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, if you hit us up on our Discord, come and have a chat. Always wanting to meet new people, fly together, fly dangerously.